After 9/11, Greg Page decided to enlist in the National Guard. Little did he know that the biggest challenge of his life was to come last summer.
Just before I went on my honeymoon, I started to notice a little bit of pain in my mouth, under my tongue. I thought it was a canker sore. After a couple weeks, the pain became a little more excruciating, and it got to the point where it didn't matter if I was eating or drinking, I could just be sitting there and it would be extreme.
The newlywed began thinking he had a dental issue and requested that a doctor at Hanscom look under his tongue.
And he sort of poked it with some kind of a dental instrument, and I almost jumped out of my chair.
The dentist found a lesion. A sample was taken, and Greg received the news from pathology.
And at first, it took me a second. I was so unfamiliar with it. I was like, are you saying I have cancer? And he says, well, unfortunately, yes.
Through a recommendation, Greg ended up in the hands of Dr. James Rocco and Dr. Derek Lynn at Mass Eye and Ear.
When I saw him, he had a 3-month history of a lesion on his left tongue that ultimately proved to be positive for invasive squamous cell cancer. Only about 2/3 will survive at the 5-year mark, and that's with all stages. So it can be a very deadly disease, and that's why it's important to catch it at an early stage.
The doctors wasted no time coming up with a plan of action.
I knew that I was in the hands of some of the best surgeons in the world.
So Dr. Rocco performed that portion of the operation where he removed the cancer in the tongue and removed the lymph nodes in the left neck.
They have to really be certain that the cancer hadn't spread to the lymph nodes, and the only way they could know that would be to open up my neck and remove some of those lymph nodes and to look at them under the microscope.
My role was to rebuild the tongue for him after the cancer had been removed.
Dr. Lin actually took a live blood vessel from my arm, as well as some tissue from the forearm, and could basically put my new tongue into my mouth.
So what I did was to borrow tissue from the forearm called a left forearm free flap reconstruction, and free meaning that we actually detach it from its artery and vein in the arm and reattach it to an artery and vein somewhere in the neck under a microscope.
The lymph nodes were cancer-free. That meant no radiation or chemo for Greg.
And within about a week, I was speaking almost the way I had done.
Now, because of Mass Eye and Ear, Greg's future with his wife and brand new baby girl looks bright.
I couldn't have asked for anyone better to have taken care of me and to really know exactly what to do.
What makes Mass Eye and Ear special or different than other hospitals is that we're a specialty hospital. That allows us to perform these surgeries at a high volume and at a more efficient rate and a successful rate than other institutions, because this is something where we do this with our same team over and over again. I personally do this operation probably 2 or 3 times a week.
Sometimes I don't think about it, but I want to always remember to be grateful to have had that medical care because really it saved my life.